like that. But this story, I'm going to try to remind you because I heard it when you were doing some talk many years ago in on Glendale. I think you had him on the radio. Christian family could be. It's a Christian family. They saw some reptilian being or something doing a ceremony, and they got like freaked out. Talking about Nancy in the
Oh yeah,
uh, from
yeah,
the
Nancy.
space, and then she also has some experience with some kind of a strange creature coming from the closet and stuff. But it
Yeah,
seemed like they received calls from whatever army
they
base
were
they were in
reptile
Germany and
aliens.
whatever.
They were reptilian.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
were
yeah,
reptile.
yeah, yeah. But the dad, her dad, obviously was from like 40s or 50s. Was going around bases, recovering also some alien stuff or something or whatever
Yeah.
that did. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a very dear friend. Her name was Nancy. I loved her. She was such a sweetheart, and she was so sweet, but she was so knowledgeable about what's going on in the world that nobody knows anything about. And the
Mhm.
reason why is because her father was an Air Force official in the Air Force, and her father was in charge of Project Retrievables, is what the government called it.
Mhm.
Project Retrievable, meaning anytime on the earth a UFO came down, landed, or crashed or something, if a UFO comes down, we want the U.S. Air Force wants to retrieve it. We want to
Mhm.
go out and pick it up and bring it back here and study it and look at it and see what it is and where it came from and how it works. And so her father, Nancy's father, was in the Air Force and he was in charge of Project Retrievables.
Mhm.
And so he used to, she said he would tell them that, tell the family that they always lived on bases. They lived on bases. Depending on where something was happening, he'd have to leave and go somewhere around the world where something has just happened, and they have to send him, and he's in charge of going to find out what happened. If some UFO crash or something, he's in charge.
Mhm.
And she said that when he would go, they would have to go and live on an Air Force base near wherever it was he had to go. And so he was always traveling around the world to events and things that have happened. And she was always having to move. They were always having to move. The military moved them from one place on the earth to the next, depending on where things were happening. And she told me a lot about what was going on with the U.S. Air Force and Project Retrievables and the extraterrestrial presence
Mhm.
on the earth, and her particular story about her confronting a reptile alien in Los
Wow.
Angeles.
In Los
The,
Angeles.
okay, in Los Angeles. And I have heard from Native Americans, American Indians. I know them, and they have told me stories about the extraterrestrial reptile aliens who live under Los Angeles.
Mhm.
They're there today. There are huge confines of big groups of aliens who are called reptile aliens, and they live under the ground, and they're probably still there today. So that's
Mhm.
just one more story that we haven't been told by our government that the U.S. government knows about. They know all about it. They just haven't told you. And the reason why they're not telling you because they don't think you're smart enough to figure it out. So why bother to tell you anything? You just go drink your beer and watch your ball game. And they will do the research. They'll know because they have a military industrial complex of the military is well aware of all these subjects. You're not supposed to know anything about them. So you just go drink your beer and watch TV.